Just picture a really busy port city.
Okay.
The kind with huge ships, cranes moving constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Just that feeling of global trade happening right there.
Yeah, nonstop movement. It's pretty impressive when you think about it, the scale of it all.
Exactly, the sheer scale, all those goods moving, connecting everywhere. These ports are like the world's economic arteries.
They absolutely are engines of progress, you could say. Access, potential. It's all tied up in how well these ports function.
Right. But here's the twist, the paradox really.
Right.
What if those arteries get clogged? What happens when these places meant to speed things up actually slow everything down, become symbols of, I don't know, stagnation?
Well, that's precisely the scenario we're looking at today, or rather, the escape from that scenario. We're doing a deep dive into Tanzania.
Yeah, into a pretty remarkable transformation story there. How a quiet revolution in its ports has seriously reshaped the country's economy.
It's fascinating because it really highlights leadership, doesn't it?
Yeah,
How strategic, disciplined action can make such a huge difference.
definitely. And the central figure here is Placidus Mbossa. He's the Director General of the Tanzania Ports Authority, the TPA.
Appointed back on July 4th, 2022 by President Samia Suluhu Hassan, and his task was enormous, basically turn the whole system around.
And his vision, this kind of reimagining of the ports, he summed it up as 3C. Remember that? Cargo, cash, and change.
That's it. Cargo, cash, change. So our mission today is to unpack how he did it, how these ports went from being, frankly, a drag on the nation to a real driver of development.
Okay, but before we get to the how, let's set the scene. What were things actually like when Mbossa took over? We're talking Dar es Salaam, Tonga, and Tora, the key ports.
The picture painted by the sources is pretty grim. Dire, really. You had systemic inefficiencies everywhere.
Like what specifically?
Chronic cargo delays, for starters, not just a few hours, but sometimes weeks. Infrastructure that was old, struggling to keep up, bottlenecks just snarling up the whole operation.
And it wasn't just operational problems, was it?
No, not at all. There were really persistent worries about revenue leakage money just disappearing, plus ongoing concerns about corruption, about smuggling.
Right, so more than just inefficiency. It sounds like it was actually damaging the country's economy and, well, its reputation.
Absolutely. It was actively undermining Tanzania's big ambition to become a major regional trade hub. These ports were, in effect, choking the very growth they were supposed to enable.
Okay, so Mbossa walks into this critical situation, and he had that quote, didn't he? Something about ports being the lifeline.
Yeah, powerful statement. Ports are the lifeline of trade. If you want to stimulate national development, you must fix the ports. Simple, direct, and, fundamentally true.
And he didn't just say it. He backed it up with his 3D doctrine. What was that again?
Discipline, digitization, and development, the 3Ds. And it wasn't just a slogan, It was the actual framework for how he approached the job.
What did that look like in practice? His leadership style?
People describe him as having this quiet discipline, very focused on systems, on processes, not flashy, but totally results-oriented.
So discipline meant what? Tightening things up.
Exactly. Zero tolerance for missed deadlines, for non-compliance. And that applied across the board from top managers right down to the docks. He brought in performance metrics, tracked everything meticulously, discussed it openly. It was about shifting the culture away from, complacency.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty then. What were the first concrete steps? You mentioned institutional reform.
Yeah, that was priority number one. Getting the house in order, essentially. So tightening up audits, strengthening internal controls, making procurement and revenue collection way more transparent.
And why start there? Seems a bit maybe bureaucratic.
But it's crucial because often it's those foundational governance issues, the weak controls, the lack of transparency, that allow inefficiency and corruption to really take root and persist.
I see. So you can't just put a shiny new system on top of a shaky foundation.
Precisely. You fix the underlying structure first. Scrutinize the money flows, ensure fair bidding, make people accountable. For instance, better audits weren't just checking books. It meant checking cargo manifests against actual goods, doing surprise warehouse inspections, making it much harder for stuff to vanish or money to get siphoned off.
Right, closing the loopholes. Necessary, but maybe not the most visible change.
Maybe not immediately visible to the public, but absolutely essential for building trust and stability. And that paved the way for the really bold move.
Which was the digitization.
Exactly. A massive push for digitization, implementing an integrated digital platform across the board, cargo handling, port operations, and, critically, all the payments.
Okay, so how did that specifically tackle the problems, like corruption? You mentioned minimizing human contact.
Yeah, that was key. Think about the old way. A truck driver might need, a dozen physical stamps and signatures,
Mhm.
customs, security, payments, multiple desks, multiple
And
interactions.
each interaction is an opportunity.
An opportunity for someone to ask for a facilitation fee or for a trader to try and slip something through, maybe under declared goods. The human element was the weak link.
So the digital platform.
It just cuts out so many of those face-to-face steps. Customs declarations, tracking cargo, scheduling ships, even getting port entry permits. It all moved online. Automated workflows.
And the payments, too.
Crucially, yes. Moving payments from cash or complex manual processes to digital systems leaves a clear, undeniable audit trail. It dramatically reduces the chances for an official to demand a bribe or for someone to easily divert funds. The system becomes the gatekeeper.
That makes sense. Less discretion, more transparency.
Exactly. It's a fantastic example, really, of how technology, applied smartly, can tackle those deep-seated human-driven problems. A real aha moment.
And the results they're pretty dramatic.
Oh, staggering is the word. Look at the finances first. Between the 2020-21 financial year and 2023-24, TPA's revenue collections shot up by over 577 billion Tanzanian shillings.
Wow. What's that in percentage terms?
That's a 64% increase. 64%. It literally transformed the TPA into one of the government's biggest non-tax revenue sources.
That's incredible. And that money doesn't just sit there, presumably.
No, absolutely not. This is the key link to national development. That huge increase in revenue means significantly more funds available for the government to plow back into things like healthcare, education, roads, you name it.
So the port success directly fuels other public services.
Precisely. It goes from being maybe a drain on resources or just breaking even to being a powerful engine funding national progress. That's the cash part of the 3 Cs in action.
Okay, so the cash is flowing. What about the cargo? The actual efficiency?
Huge improvements there, too. Annual cargo throughput, the sheer amount of stuff moving through Dar es Salaam, Tanga, and Matoora, jumped by 9.43 million tons.
Which is how
A 55% increase. Massive, but maybe even more impactful for the actual users, the businesses.
ship turnaround times.
Exactly. Container ships used to wait for days sometimes now. It's often down to mere hours.
Hours. From days.
Yeah. And for general cargo vessels, the turnaround time dropped by more than 10 days. Think about what that means.
That's huge savings for shipping lines, right? Less waiting time, less fuel.
Absolutely. And it means goods get to market faster, businesses save money on storage and delays, supply chains become more predictable. Also, regional trade volumes using the ports climbed by 65%.
So it's not just numbers on a page. It's real-world impact.
Yeah.
Quicker goods, lower costs. The whole economy moves faster.
That's it. It's tangible. Goods reaching consumers faster, farmers getting exports out efficiently, businesses operating with more certainty.
Now, you mentioned regional trade. Mbossa clearly saw Tanzania's ports as more than just for Tanzania itself.
Yes, very much so. He recognized them as vital regional lifelines. Think about the landlocked neighbors Zambia, Malawi, Rwanda, Burundi, the DRC. They rely heavily on Tanzanian ports.
So improving the ports helps them too.
Significantly. And that understanding drove a big focus on strategic expansion and infrastructure, modernizing berths to handle bigger ships, improving the road and rail links heading inland, expanding storage.
And the standard gauge railway, the SGR, that fits in here.
Absolutely central to the vision. Integrating the SGR smoothly with port operations is key to creating that seamless flow of cargo from ship onto rail and deep into the continent. It's about making the whole logistics chain work efficiently.
And it wasn't just Dar es Salaam getting upgrades, right? Tonga and Matoora too.
Correct. Targeted upgrades were crucial. Tonga, for example, has become a really important support base for huge projects like the East African Crude Oil Pipeline EACOP, handling a lot of the logistics.
Okay.
And Matoora down south is helping unlock the economic potential of that whole region thing, agriculture, like cashews and minerals, its strategic placement, optimizing the whole network.
Of course, this kind of massive change,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been completely smooth sailing, surely. There must have been challenges.
Oh, absolutely. You have to remember the context. This was happening during major global shipping chaos caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. That alone was a huge external pressure.
Right. Global supply chains were a mess everywhere.
Exactly. And then domestically, you inevitably face political pressures and, crucially, resistance from vested interests.
People who benefited from the old system.
People who were comfortable with the inefficiency or perhaps even profiting from the lack of transparency and the corruption. Major reforms always stir up resistance.
So how did Mbossa navigate that? Dealing with global crises and internal resistance sounds tough. Did the sources give clues about his approach?
It seems like a combination of factors. First, crucial backing from the top President Samia Suluhu Hassan's support provided a clear mandate. That sends a powerful message.
Political will.
Definitely. Second, his relentless focus on data and results. When you can show, black and white, a 64% revenue jump and drastically faster ship times that benefit the whole country, it's hard for opponents to argue credibly against it. The results became his shield, in a way.
Makes the resistance look self-serving.
Pretty much. Plus, the digitization itself made it harder for those vested interests to operate in the shadows. It increased the risk and reduced their leverage.
And his personality. You said quiet discipline.
Yeah, descriptions like low profile but uncompromising come up. Quotes from colleagues like, he walks the talk, and under him, mediocrity has no place. It suggests a real strength of character, sticking to principles even when things got difficult.
Okay, so let's zoom out again. The ripple effects across Tanzania as a whole. You mentioned funding for services.
Yes, the impact is definitely broader than just the Port Authority's finances. That increased revenue directly translates into tangible benefits. Better roads connecting farms to ports, for example, which lowers costs for farmers. More money for health clinics, for schools. It shows how a well-run state asset can genuinely lift the entire nation.
And Tanzania's image internationally.
Improved significantly. You see it in the logistics rankings. You hear about increased investor confidence. When your main trade gateways are seen as efficient and reliable, it boosts confidence in the whole economy.
And its role in the region.
It's really cemented its position as the preferred gateway for many of its neighbors. It's become a leader in East African logistics and integration, sending that clear signal of reliability.
What a journey, from near crisis to regional leader. So, Mbossa's legacy? It's more than just tons and shillings, isn't it?
Absolutely. Those numbers are vital, proof of this success. But the deeper legacy, I think, is that restored confidence. Confidence within Tanzania that it can manage its crucial assets effectively, transparently, and confidence internationally that it's a reliable partner.
And his own focus, still pushing forward.
Seems so. He had that quote about his goal being simple. Make Tanzania's ports the most efficient and trusted in Africa and, of course, beyond. Always looking ahead.
It really makes you think. In a part of the world where sometimes ports have been bottlenecks, symbols of frustration, this Tanzania story under Mbossa is powerful.
It truly is a real lesson in what's possible.
So the final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. What does this case study really teach us about the power of focused leadership, discipline, and smart reforms like digitization? How could these principles, the discipline, digitization, development model, be applied elsewhere? Maybe in other public sectors or other countries facing similar challenges, to unlock that kind of potential and drive real, lasting change. Something to ponder until our next deep dive.